Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because
Brendo and Daz, a much better duo than Brendo and Hats. Brendo and Daz, fuck you stacking hats. And also Bodog.
Daz,
Brendo.
how you going?
Yeah, good man. Yourself?
I'm really well. What's going on?
Well, you're in my shed. It's a little bit different.
It is different.
Normally, you guys are dialing into me, and we got our good mate Hats here.
I wasn't
is
going
King is
to
dead.
intro him so quickly, but hi, guest. How you going, Hats?
The king is dead. Long live the king. Hi, Daz.
G'day, buddy.
How are you, boys?
Yeah, very well, very well. So I don't know how doxed you are location-wise, but I am far, far north from where we live, Hats. And Daz kindly picked me up from where I have been staying. Surprisingly, didn't ask to put a bag over my head to take me to his house, which was lovely. Cooked me a massive
And after
steak.
he saw your face.
Yeah. He cooked me a massive steak. Actually, very generously gave me the biggest steak, and it was delicious. I've met the kids, met the wife. It's
Docs. Double docs.
Oh, what? Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
That's not that doxy. How doxy can you get?
that's the docs
I
jar.
don't know.
I just want.
Yes,
I
I'll
just want
take-
to see you part with Sats into the docs jar.
Yeah.
But no, it's lovely. I picked some. Yeah, we're in far north Queensland. Cairns, in fact.
Oh, wow, I didn't know you were
I
that
don't mind
specific.
saying that.
Yeah, nice.
So we picked Brendo up, brought him home, meet the kids, meet the fam.
Yep. Good.
Cooked a steak on the dirty gas. He
No,
snobbed. He
no,
turned
I
his nose
didn't.
up a little bit
No,
at
I
it. He's
didn't.
like, I only eat steak on charcoal,
Oh.
does I? And I was like, oh. So
It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And the cool
Is it-
thing, Hats, is that I'm sitting in this shed, right, and I'm looking at 4 S9s, and he's already
Oh,
taken,
that is good.
showing me the things running and showing me all kinds of stuff. So it's like I'm just getting
Yeah.
educated. So good.
Yeah, that is cool. That was 4 doxes as well.
yeah.
How?
Because
That's
the ATO's at the door. Oh, so you're printing your own money, Mr. B.
Actually, I heard a thing recently where, or maybe it was you, was on Justin's pod. Were you saying something about how people were getting, knocks on the door because of the power that they were using? I think they were growing weed. Or
Oh yeah,
something?
that's the thing. I've heard a couple of stories of that
Yeah.
where not necessarily in Australia, but I think it was actually it was one story in the UK where there was somebody got a knock on the door. So the police will normally go over with infrared cameras to try and find people growing marijuana
Yeah.
with hydroponics in their ceilings and whatnot. So this heat print was signalling that these people were growing weed. And the cops rock up and it's like, no, mate, they're just our miners.
Miners.
'Cause
That's
It'd actually,
great.
you know what? It'd actually be a good cover if you were growing crop.
They're-
You'd be
Yep.
saying, "Well, sorry guys, it's the miners."
that's not a bad. That's not a bad idea. Another use
Which
case.
one's going to be the most illegal?
Yes.
Yeah,
Good
true.
question. Another thing, Hats, is as to why Daz is better than you.
Okay.
God.
He's letting me smoke in his garage.
I don't mind you smoking in the house. You're the one with the problem with it because you don't want my kid to tell your kid
I know,
that Daddy
I know.
smokes.
And I'm far enough. I'm far enough away from anybody for me to do this. So this is great.
And how long's it going to be? So your kids don't know you smoke?
No, I was saying before, like they've both. Well, sorry, one's caught me, and I had to kind of explain that off, and the other one smelt me.
True.
You just fart, Hats?
No, that must be my high tech earphones rubbing my face.
Yeah.
But I did. This is how high. This is why Brendo does the tech side of things, and I just kind of sit here and talk. I couldn't make my tablet work for the call, so I did it on the phone, and the phone is sitting right in front of the tablet, and I'm pressing the picture to try to make it expand on the tablet.
Yeah.
It's literally trying to. Anyway, the second thing I'd like to say is I have never seen two people who I've never met before look so happy in a picture. That's a great picture you sent through.
We've had a lovely afternoon.
We stopped at a brewery,
good.
had a couple of beers.
They were terrible, by the way.
They weren't great.
No, they weren't great. I won't dox the
No.
name of the brewery, but
Even the second one wasn't.
No.
fantastic. No. But anyway, we're enjoying each other's company. He's made the cut. You're out.
it's harsh.
It's all
man.
good.
It's harsh. I still love your hats.
I always said
There's
when-
always a place for
Thank-
both of you in my heart.
Hats and Daz.
Hey, don't.
Hats and Daz.
dox-
Hats.
That's a dox.
Oh, I don't. Okay, I'm lost.
Yeah.
I don't know either.
Yeah. Anyway, what are we talking about, hats?
You said that you'd be in charge of this, so I'll let the people
No, I
decide
didn't.
whether
No,
you're
you-
capable of that or not.
No.
So-
You said you'd be in charge. You said, yeah, whatever.
I want to hear Hatz's Bitcoin story. He's obviously a bit of an OG. Right?
Hatz's
This
Bitcoin
is
story.
the interview. We're flipping the. This
Yeah.
is the Brendo and Daz show. Welcome to our guest Hats. And so Hats, tell us how did you start your Bitcoin journey?
You genuinely want to know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Daz,
'Cause you're
can you move?
You're like the OG between us two. We're relatively new, and you've been around a little while, and you've got some pretty good, some pretty good takes on Bitcoin. You've been around a bit. This is you want to come on the pod? Yeah. You can say hello to
Oh.
Hats. Say hey Hats. My name's
Hello.
FB.
My name's FB.
Yes.
Hello, FB.
All right, buddy. You
Good name. Hello, mate. Nice to meet you.
See you, buddy.
Um,
Oh,
Doxstar.
Doxstar.
That's 1,000 sats. Go to
Oh,
bed, buddy.
I don't know if did that come across? Did you hear that?
yeah, I heard that. That's
Oh,
great.
That's fine. It's cool.
Mark that time.
Anyway, back to your story, man. That's the youngest fella. He was pretty pumped. He's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh yeah, he's
actual.
quick. He's quick.
He's pretty quick, and him
Uh,
and Brendo, best buds.
Best buds.
nice one.
Absolute.
Have you just left? Have you just left the missus at the hotel, Brendo? Have you? You just go yourself, night out by yourself.
Entirely. Another dox.
Okay.
You brought my wife into it. Keep
Okay,
my wife's
okay.
name.
So,
Anyway, talk.
So, would you generally want the story?
Yeah. Let's go.
So, what do you?
Can I say?
All
Sorry,
right.
I know.
How
I
far
know
back you want to go, Des?
I know I'm heaps of really far away, but can you stop moving? Because you just
Oh, sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm a fidget. It's going to be the note. Sorry. Have you? Okay. How far back do you want to go, Des? Like just to
All the way.
Bitcoin, or like I was
all the
was
way.
born-
Give us
I was
a
born
hat story.
on a
We've never-
Thursday.
I mean,
was,
you guys have never spoken about this on the pod, right? Like, we don't know your
No,
Uh,
I don't know if we have.
as much as you're comfortable sharing, but
So you were born on parole in 19.
this is going to be painful. Right, mate. So oh God, I'll do it quick. So I did like a business and stats degree, right? Let's start there. Came out of there, worked in the public, traveled a bit, worked in the public sector for best part of 10, 12 years maybe. I was a procurement guy, public procurement. First as a staff member. I can't take that out, can I? First as a staff member, and then for lots of it was a contractor. Oh, that's better. So, but what would I say? Like, that's a good job in a sense. It's an important job, but it's not to make it. It's not nothing to do with me. But it's an important job. But it's very bureaucratic. It's a pain in the ass, and gradually got more and more stressful, and like more and more. What would you say? Just like you just couldn't get anything done. So, and then myself and my wife decided to move to Australia. So that was a good chance for me to totally do something new. And I'd messed around trying a few different things for years. But I've always kind of like invested. What would I say? Like, I was a kid who was, I did fantasy stock picker in the Financial Times as a 10-year-old, right? That's who I am. So I always loved that. But so I've always been looking at things. I've always been looking out for, I don't know, but I'm just interested. And I've always been sort of interested in investing in sort of the high risk things as well. Not necessarily a lot of money, but high risk thing. And there was a business online it was an online advertising business, which is still around today, but that was taking investments in multiple different coins, but mostly Bitcoin, right? So I was like, oh, what is this? This is 2015, I think. So what is this Bitcoin thing? How do I buy it, and how do I send it to these people, right? So that's what I did. I bought Bitcoin in 2015, and I sent it to somebody else.
How much was it in 2015?
So my first buy of Bitcoin, this is very doxy, but if I'm saying it up front, was $400. So that's kind of cool. If I still owned any of that, that would be really cool. But I don't own any. I don't own any of that. Incidentally, I never lost any money on that business, but I lost a lot of value of Bitcoin, right? So and I did that for a little while, and then so that was 15, but that's probably what made me first start paying attention. And then I just didn't really do anything about it, and I kind of watched it run up, and in 17 I probably must have bought more, but I watched it run up, and I watched it run. But yeah, I was buying. I must have been buying in 16. Watched it run up, feeling like I was a genius, and then watched it run all the way back down, feeling like I was an idiot. But after the run back down, that's when I started to learn. So that's probably, what is that, early 18 or something? And then ever since then, I'm a DCer. I'm a daily DCer, so I'm just that guy. And I'm a what I am now. I was a FOMO guy as well, so I bought at stupid places as well. But I'm now mostly just a daily DCA guy.
And when you say you started learning, what did that look like?
This is what you do, Brendo. This is how you ask a question. You listen to what the guys say, ask a question, return, not just this blank stare. This is what I'm now seeing what other people are seeing.
Sorry, what was that?
He's drunk. What was the question that sorry, I didn't pay attention.
So you were mentioning that so at some point along that journey you started your learning before you the daily DCA guy. So what did that learning entail? What did you do? What were resources were available at the time, and how did you pull on that thread?
Well, gotcha. So, if you buy Bitcoin, I will answer the question. But if you buy Bitcoin and you watch it run and you think you're clever, and then you watch it fall back and you think it's hard to admit that you're a moron. So you either do one of two things: you admit that you're a moron and you move on, or you get stubborn, and you try and prove why you're right.
Which you are.
Which I am right, but I wasn't. I was just pure luck.
No, stubborn, not right. I'm saying you're stubborn.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm also right. I'm both of those things, right? But yeah, so you get stubborn, you start looking. So what was I? So I watched Max and Stacey for a long time.
How'd you get onto them?
Right back. I don't know. I think they were on BBC Two at one stage, believe it or not. I think they were on BBC Two, and then they became more and more marginalised.
For the plebs who don't know acronyms, what's BBC Two? is that some sort of backward Scottish channel?
That's a porn thing.
Yeah. You actually seriously want to know?
Yeah, what's BBC Two?
Excuse me, right? Okay, sorry. BBC Two is the British Broadcasting Corporation Channel 2.
Number 2.
I thought it was Big Black Cock.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry I sent him up to you, Dad. Yeah, so back, I think they were on there. I'd have to check that back, but I think they were on there. And then that kind of, obviously the guests that they had on, so they used to do, what did they do? You maybe watched that. When they then went on to the Kaiser Report, they started to have, like they would do 10 minutes, just them talking about the news or whatever it was, and then 10 minutes with a guest. Some of those guests were idiots, and there were a lot of them that weren't. And so yeah, you just, I don't know, that's just the rabbit hole, isn't it? It's like anybody, if you're on, you go on YouTube today and you search cat videos, you're there 2.5 hours later and you're watching dinosaur videos, you have no idea why, right? So so that's what I did, and so I'm just still watching dinosaur videos. So but yeah, so Max and Stacey were pretty influential, and there was a guy called Thomas Hunt, Mad Bitcoins, who did a show called, I think it was called what was it called? Maybe it was even called the World Crypto Network. Yeah, I think it maybe was, which is a bit pukey now, but Thomas Hunt was he's a good guy, although yeah, I think he is a good guy, but I think he's maybe gone a little bit NFT. And then
Happens to the best of them.
Yeah, he was a good guy. Yeah,
Eric Carter.
Nick Carter.
Nick Carter, whatever your name is.
You mixed.
He's already dead to me.
You mixed Eric and .eth.
No, who's Eric Carter? That's a dude.
Eric
Cartman. We were talking about Seinfeld on the way
No,
here.
South Park.
South Park.
You're all over the shop. Who's pissed?
Who's pissed? This guy.
so
Wait, we can edit that out.
Yeah, no, we can't.
No, it's good. Keep it in.
the
Nick Carter. That's another little topic we can pull on a bit later. But
Yeah.
so
definitely.
who are you saying?
So Max and Stacey definitely. Thomas Hunt and some of the people that came through that show, and then after that, where did I go after that? Probably the Swan guys. Probably Brady.
Yeah.
Citizen Bitcoin. I would have been listening to Brady pretty early. He was pretty early. And who else was early in terms of podcasts? Preston. I didn't find Preston until later, though. Preston's great, but I didn't find him till a bit later. I think he's in the line of the Maxis as well. Preston. We can talk about that later too.
Yeah.
Look at you. The faces are just devastated if one of the great heroes falls.
What?
I mean, that's like Maverick himself getting shot down.
Hang on. What's going on there? What have I missed?
Well, he had Did you see this recently, Daz?
At one point as a guest, and then when BlockFi's obviously gone down, brought in Anthony Popliano and all those involvements, and so with Preston, it was, I mean, as the plebs do, they jump on like rabid dogs, and
Yes.
it's blood in the water, and then the shark frenzy begins. And I think Preston got him brought. And he handled himself really well. I think he just said, "I've had BlockFi on. To my knowledge, I've never had sponsorship or taken money from BlockFi."
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So I think he handled himself pretty well. But maybe is that what you're referring to, Hats?
Yeah, it is. But also, and he did handle himself very well, and his show is wonderful. And I like the Wednesday show. The rest is absolute bullshit. But sorry, Preston, it is. But but if you actually listen to the. If you listen, so I don't care. I'm like, well, what does it matter, right?
Yeah.
But if you listen to if you ever listen to the Wednesday show and listen to the ad read, it's just full of garbage.
Yeah,
it's just full of garbage.
Yeah.
So that's he is responsible for that. I don't want to get on here.
But it's not. Hang on, it's not just him though. There's other guys involved in the Investors Podcast or whatever it's called. Yeah, the network.
Indeed. But
Yeah.
I think he'll be pretty influential in it. Right, he's got a big profile now, and I think he could put a stop to if he wanted to. But yeah, I mean it's low level stuff compared to what Nic Carter's come out with, or anybody else that Trace, or there's been a history of people that have just fallen, and eventually somebody's going to.
Can we?
If anybody cares, I'm sorry, I was going to say was eventually if anybody ever cares enough, eventually they'll come for us because we'll do something that's not quite right, and I hope they do. I'll look forward to that day because it's exactly what needs to happen. I just hope I, could take it well if and when it happens.
Well, yeah. Can we talk about Nic Carter then? Because I've been
Sure.
on holiday, right? I haven't been particularly active, but I logged on yesterday and I just saw Nic Carter, .eth. So what was the kind of catalyst for him, or what actually happened? Was there an announcement? Was there a tweet where he just went and everyone went, no, that's no good. I'm now an ETH head. What was it?
Daz, you want me?
So he tweeted out and I don't know the names of the particular platform he was speaking, but he's involved in VC, right? And anybody who's listened to any of his pods, I think in hindsight, like I was a bit naive too. I thought he was a pretty hardcore Bitcoin only guy, but it turns out he never has been and never
No,
never
he
was.
hasn't.
Yeah, so
Never claimed to be?
never
He-
proactively claimed to be, but I think it was just one of these things that's assumed, right? Because he puts out phenomenal work. His essays in breaking down some of that energy FUD are second to none, and his takes on what Bitcoin is and what it means are also second to none. But he is also in a venture capital firm with 4 other leaders, I believe, and they do get involved in some other technologies. And so I think the situation was he tweeted out that he was backing some sort of, and I don't even know what they do. I didn't dig down in the weeds enough. I don't didn't need to expend any time on this, but I think they're involved in digital IDs and helping with the digital wallet ecosystem. So it's not directly like a shitcoin. It's not a altcoin. It's not a token, but it's definitely on that other side of the Web3 space, enabling wallets and operability and all that. So he come out basically saying bullish on this particular thing or something to that regard. And Samson Mow was one of the most prominent Bitcoiners who jumped on him, calling him out on that, and then there was a bit of a back and forth. And I honestly don't think Nick handled himself. Nick, not Eric, right? Not Eric Cartman. Nic Carter. He didn't handle himself that well. He definitely bit, and he bit down in a pretty horrible way, basically calling the plebs irrelevant, in not so many words. And it's like, come on, man, like, you can disagree and you can do all that, but like his takes and his responses were very derogatory, very caught up in basically in ego. And I don't think he handled himself all that well. There's definitely some probably malice slung at him, and I think, you know, it's one of these times. And Seb actually pointed out a tweet this morning. We had a bit of back and forth about this, not to put words in Seb's head, but there's definitely, we recognise part of like Looking Glass, just to give that a plug, lookingglass.com, lookingglasseducation.com, that toxicity in the Bitcoin space can be a barrier to entry to people interested in this, looking from the outside in. But by the same token, like we also recognise that, I mean, some of these OGs in this space, like people who've been around, have seen the fuckery that goes on, that deters from what the message we're trying to purvey. Like, we're trying to change the world through a strong fixed cap supply monetary system. Yeah. And people, and these shitcoins just give, you know, a really negative light to it. And we can only just like look at the recent examples with Luna and the spew down. Like, we just fell from grace. Like, Bitcoin was really starting to consolidate into a nice range of consistent sort of growth. And then all it takes is some other shitcoinery to infiltrate, and that contagion that flows on from there. Yep. And it's starting to expose, I mean, it's good in a way. It's definitely good in a way. But by the same token, like, you know, all of us guys sit down trying to tell our friends and family, educate on this thing, Bitcoin, and, you know, again, the right approach with DCAing and trying to, we know it's volatile, we know it chops around, but by the same token, like, people who have gone in at $60,000 US, they're shit in the bed right now. They're in a bad way. And like, you can do, you know, and even in my personal life, you know, I'm very active in that education space, and I'm very proactive with that messaging. Anyone who'll listen to me, I'll talk to about Bitcoin. And like, I'm copping shit from people at work and all that sort of thing, and that's fine. I know what this thing does long term, but it also, when these events happen, it's, I mean, the maxis are so toxic because they've been through it before. Yeah. Like, and I'm a 2020 newcomer to this thing. They've seen these cycles numerous times in the past, and that's why they're so toxic, because they are like,
same shit again.
Enough with the fuckery. We're trying to change the world, right? And I'm probably a bit more lenient to that, not having gone through a full cycle myself. Like, you know, we've suffered a couple of sort of, we could argue, a prolonged bear market now, and it's recovered, and then it's now we're fully probably in a bear market, and that's fine. We know where this is leading long term, but it's that contagion that spreads from mucking around in projects and systems that are the direct antithesis of what we're trying to achieve. Like a decentralized monetary system that can enable wage earners to better their lives, better their, you know, create generational wealth. And we've got this little thing we keep talking about. It's like this ladder to self-sovereignty. You're on different rungs of this ladder. You might start at the bottom. It's just survival, just trying to earn wages to, you know, to feed your family. Then you know, and as you step up that, as you are able to increase your cash flows, then you're looking for different avenues to better your life, right? And we all know that fiat has failed us. It's made us fat. It's made us lazy. It's made us high time preference. We bring forward consumption. We we don't have that through the fiat monetary system. We're not incentivized in any way, shape, or form to put off consumption because we know that dollar's buying us less and less over time, and it's just accelerating, and the whole world is feeling toxic.
Yeah.
From that regard. So when guys in the space who are so influential and have such a massive audience come out and proact in the current environment where we've seen people really shit the bed, like really get impacted with these, it's safe, the Raoul Pals of the world saying, it's basically risk-free.
Yeah.
It's basically risk-free. These are people within the space who we look to for investment advice. And people pay good money for that investment advice. And they are saying, park your money here in this DeFi in name only, DINO, whatever you want to call that, decentralized, in name only, structures that are fundamentally flawed. And people have really, really done hard. And most of what we got to realize as well is most people look at Bitcoin and they look at the unit bias of Bitcoin and they think, I can't afford a Bitcoin, but I can afford 14 million of these Shiba freaking dog coins. That's where I'll park my money. And they get embroiled in these systems thinking through this unit bias, and it's just through lack of education. It's just through, no fault of their own. They come to this space and they're just, you go to those centralized, those exchanges, and you see all the dangling lights, like, oh, buy me, buy me, buy me. And some of them, you can't even find Bitcoin on the front page. Like, what the hell is up with that? The most strongest monetary good that we've ever seen, and you've got to dig down a little bit further to find it, right? And I realize I'm going on a rant here, and you boys haven't spoken for a while, but like that's where the toxicity comes from that environment. Was we work so hard to move ourselves 10 steps forward in this space to try and bring on people, and they get wrapped up in this bullshit, and it spews, and people lose hard money, and we take 10 steps backwards. It's not even just 2 steps backwards, it's the full 10 steps. Like, we're trying to encourage people to consider this as a monetary good for their savings and for their future, to build generational wealth, and these shit coins come in and absolutely puke the market, puke the fundamentals of Bitcoin, and people get sucked into thinking everything's a scam, and we start from scratch. And that's why the toxicity, is it warranted? I recognize that it's a barrier to entry to some people coming new to the space as well. If you are a lurker on Twitter and you go, geez, those Bitcoin guys are crazy, but that's only because so many people dedicate their whole lives for this thing. People are leaving jobs to dedicate their lives to Bitcoin. Like, we're seeing it every single day with Looking Glass. We're getting bombarded with people. It's like, I just want to dedicate my time, effort, and energy to Bitcoin because we see what the future holds for it if we can make it work.
Yep.
Can I just give a quick take on?
Rant over.
Sorry, no, please.
Nice rant.
No, I was going to say, can I just have a quick?
We'll end it there. Fantastic.
Just a quick on the toxicity side of things, right? As somebody who's been maybe a couple of years longer, whatever, I was exactly the same. Like, I used to read these tweets from people, and I was like, oh, that's a bit much. Like, is there a need for that? Do you need to do that? But you come to realize that, like, it's, and I don't know who put this first, but it's the immune system, right? If you don't like it, that's okay. But at least these guys have the right intention. And I don't mind if somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about comes in and asks a few stupid questions. That's great when somebody does that, right? But and then hopefully, there's a Bitcoiner there that will, help them out and lead them along the way and whatever. But I mean, when somebody who has had every opportunity and probably knows better takes a decision to just out of pure self-interest, to just go down another line and then try and drag people with them. I just find it disgusting, and I love seeing people, and don't get me wrong, I don't like bullying. I don't want to see some like just nastiness for nastiness sake. There's no need for it. But if there's a reason, go after. I want to see these guys gone after, because it's not it's just not acceptable, and they're gonna and I think time and time again, the maxis are stepping up and going, well, I don't care what people think of me personally. I'm just going to say this and because it's needed to be said. And I love it. I love it. And do I pile on sometimes? Sure, I probably do, and maybe I'm not proud of that particularly, but it is necessary. And at the same token, for the people out there, everybody, and this is why, and Brendo and I have spoken about this, and I'm sure you guys have too at Looking Glass, but there's everybody's going to resonate with somebody different, right? So we've got a voice and we put that out there, and somebody will hate us, and that's fine. And some people might not. And the Looking Glass, it'll absolutely strike a chord for some people. But at the same token, guys like Jeff Booth, I mean, I'm a big fan of Jeff. Jeff is the most composed man. He'll never say a bad word about anyone. But we need the voices like that too, because some people will gravitate, and then other folks will just go straight to, like, I don't know, Yellow and Greg and all these guys, and that's great. That's how it should be, because there's plenty of people to talk to, right? It's not like it's not like we're trying to convert one or two people. There's 8 billion people to talk to. So if we think that one person is going to send the message to the whole community, we're kidding ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So the guys like, I don't know, there's the latest one, and Raul and these guys. I just have no time for them. I've no time for them. They should know better, and they should be better than that. They don't need them. They don't need the money, so they should be better than it.
100%.
We're going to stop there because the time's up. So I'll call you back. It has to do the process. Your mic is clicking too like a motherfucker. I know it's hard.
Oh, sorry,
I don't notice it, Hats.
Yeah.
I think you sound lovely.
We're back.
We are back. We shouldn't say we are back because we're trying to make it the magic of people not knowing.
You can do the dung over the top, no?
Version of Zoom. Oh, fuck it. I'm going to leave it in.
Well, I think it was you guys who told me paid version of Zoom's a shitcoin. Was that you?
It is a shit. Well, it is a shitcoin, but yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Shitcoin, but it's also a fucking pain in the ass.
I took all that on board, and now I'm a Jitsi boy.
Yeah, Jitsi.
You're what?
Jitsi.
Do they actually record, or can you get a recording?
I think it might be paid. Don't quote me. But Jitsi is
Jitsi.
a end-to-end encrypted free platform recommended by a lot of Bitcoiners. Actually,
Yes.
Justin from Mission Bitcoin put me on a Jitsi.
Oh, maybe that's what he
Jitsi.
uses.
No, he used something else actually when we did our pod. I can't remember what it was called.
Find out. Give me the inside
I've not
scoop.
listened to you and Justin yet. I
will
need
tell
to get
us.
to that one, Daz.
Oh, I have. It's very good.
Oh,
That was a good chat actually.
he's a good guy, Justin. He's a thoughtful man.
Very thoughtful. We're actually we've approached Justin to help us with some content writing for LookingGlassEducation.com.
Ah,
I was
Awesome.
telling
Yeah, cool.
Daz today about my Anchorman analogy. Remember on our pod where I was like, "We're 2-bit idiots. We're the Ron Burgundy and Mission."
yeah.
Bitcoin.
We're Tits McGee or whatever.
Tis McGee. No, and he's Veronica Corningstone. And do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, you can tell. I don't care.
He hasn't seen Anchorman.
You should watch Anchorman.
I'm not a Will Ferrell guy. I liked Step Brothers. I thought that was solid. But
John C. Reilly's fantastic.
years ago I watched that. What's his first one? Night at the Roxbury.
Oh yeah, with Chris Kattan.
Yeah, pus.
That's the Saturday Night Live.
Absolute
crew.
pus movie.
Yeah.
So I couldn't move. I couldn't move past it. Step Brothers was solid, but I don't think I've seen. Maybe was he in that dodgeball one?
No, that's Ben Stiller.
Yeah, no.
That's good though.
Okay. Yeah. So that was me. That's me, Will Ferrell. Just don't gel.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Bitcoin.
Back to Bitcoin. I do.
Well,
I do
okay,
have something.
Well, let's get back to your
Oh my God.
story, right? So.
I thought it was done. Was I not?
Well, kind
Was there anything? Is there more to know?
Well, I was saying to Daz in the car, how we not how we met, but how you got me in a way. You know what I mean? Like when I first met you, it was obviously through our daughters and blah blah blah. And do you remember the first time we had dinner at your place in Port there? And that's when you first broke probably your 13th chair, but the first one I've ever seen. And I don't remember us talking a lick about Bitcoin then.
Neither do I.
Yeah, I don't think
So that would have been. So that would at least have been 2017, 16, maybe.
Yeah,
I can imagine though. Hats like I want to tell this guy about Bitcoin. I want to tell this guy about Bitcoin.
But then
It would have been like it would have been in the back of his mind.
But
though.
then
He's
on subsequent kind of catch-ups and meetings, that you'd kind of be be talking about it, and I remember us being at the stadium for the girls had a dance thing, and I don't know if you remember this, but you were talking about it,
Go on.
and I was kind of like interested, and I was saying to Daz, it was kind of like you kind of got like a shark, you got to smell of blood.
I wonder if it's like how swingers sort of come. So anyway, you into.
That's an altogether more interesting question, Daz. Ask Brendo about that question.
About swinging.
We'll
Can
not
you
go
just
there.
dox my swinging tendencies?
we have a running joke in the DMs.
And like I picked him up, and then he comes to my house and puts his keys in a bowl in my front thing, and I'm like, "What's that all about?"
I was spending having a good chat with your wife earlier, so who knows?
Is she as hot as she sounds? Sorry, Dad.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah, bow back to Bigfoot. Sorry.
I just asked a question so she'd just talk. It was fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
He's
Well,
like,
with-
can you slow it down like it's the looking glass? He said to her. So, Brendo, are you enjoying your salad?
You reached for the pause.
Yeah.
Not everyone knows about salad.
Yeah.
Let me tell you
That
the
dirty little
history
secret.
of
We
salad.
ate steak, but we also had salad.
It was a good salad
Yeah.
too, actually.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
As far as salad goes, I suppose.
Anyway, so you wrote me in, yeah?
So I don't remember the stadium thing you're talking about whatsoever. I do remember being at a birthday party and with like the dads congregating with a beer around somebody's swimming pool, and nobody being interested in you were the only one that was sort of interested. And I was like, okay, well, that'll do.
That's funny because I don't remember that.
Well, I think it was you. Maybe it wasn't you.
Probably.
Maybe I should do a podcast with some other guy.
You're such a slut.
Yeah, I mean, it's pointless, right? You know, Daz, right? If you're talking to somebody who's genuinely just not interested, there's no point. I mean, you're just wasting. You're wasting your time. You're wasting, definitely wasting their time. I mean, ultimately, everybody. There's going to be a day, the whole gradually. There's going to be a day that or a day, a week, a month, or something. But everybody you've pestered comes running at you.
Yes.
How do I do it? And you're not going to be able to cope with it. There's just going to be a
That's why I
day.
built the platform.
That's why I built the website.
You wouldn't listen to me, 2020. You wouldn't listen to me in 2021.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just going to outsource this. And here's the website. Go away.
Well,
I'm retired.
Yeah.
I literally got a thing on the website that says, like, I've managed to orange pill, whatever, and I managed to get some people to hear, but I know this can't scale, and that's why I've done this, and hopefully it gets you off, gets you to a whole coin or at least off zero.
Okay.
Hang on.
Tell us what motivated you to start a podcast.
Well, there was exactly that. It's just it was exactly that. It's like, if you do this, the only people that are listening to this are either, I don't know, hi. They're sort of interested. They got to be somehow, right? Or they're just, I don't know, lost. Either completely lost, or they're interested, right? They're trying to learn something, and God knows what we've taught them tonight. I don't think much, but I mean, probably two things. We're social creatures, right? So we want to be, whether you like it or not. We can all say, "Oh, I want to live off grid and I want to live in a field," blah 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 blah. But eventually, you have to have. You do want to have. I think most people want to have some contact with somebody, and if you're constantly like studying something, interested in something, paying attention to something that nobody else cares about, when you finally find that one person that cares, you're like, oh, yeah, brilliant, right? I can talk to somebody finally. And it's like, we're talking to, who was it, Crispy? Like going to the Bush Bash. It's exactly that thing, right? You just rock up and you're like, oh, thank fuck. Like, that's the feeling you have, right? It's not like, and it's just good. But what was the question?
Oh, I don't know.
Wait, why you started the pod?
Yeah.
On the pod. Sorry,
right?
let me just.
Okay.
No, all I was just going to say is, so I realized that I was annoying people, and I wanted to do something that was still doing the same thing, but just annoying different people that didn't have to punch me in the face. No, but like people that were choosing it, right? People were choosing to listen to this if they're listening to this. We're not forcing it on them. Anybody can press stop.
Do you
and go listen
remember
to,
about 6 months earlier, someone actually suggesting that we did a pod, and you said,
Was that you?
Yes, it was fucking me. You were like, nah, like there's so many pods out there.
There's something else. You did something else recently, which I claimed was my idea, and then what was that?
I don't know.
And also you did the intro tune, which I said was not good.
It's fucking great.
And it's the best intro in Bitcoin, I have to say. I mean, I don't know.
That's pretty good.
It's good.
That's a good intro.
It's good.
And it's nothing to do with it.
He hated it.
Tell me why you were here.
It's Morpheus. I love Morpheus. It's just the Brendo's bit I don't like.
Anyway,
Nah, it's good.
I do.
It's
have
good.
good
It's
occasionally.
You do. It's interesting though. Like even that can be enough to there's a couple of them with really really shocking intros, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I could listen to this intro again. What's it like?
Breathe. I don't know. It's just.
You guys should do a parody of.
Last time I listened to
intros.
Breed Love, it sounded like he was in a toilet. His actual audio was terrible.
His audio is terrible.
Yeah.
And I mean, come on, Breed Love. You're better than that.
Yeah.
This is coming from me. That's like literally got a clothes. I've literally got a clothes peg holding a micro here, shaking
I know.
making that noise. That's me with a clothes peg.
Yeah.
Stop touching it.
I mean, we're not Breed Love. You know, I think
No, it wasn't.
That's not a closed peg.
no,
It's a butterfly.
Is it?
Is it?
No, it's actually it's a metal clothes peg.
No, it is.
You know,
It is.
Oh, top shelf.
that's what happens.
Actually,
That's what happens when
this
you're
is-
at 2015 OG.
you know what? Every time I mow the lawn and I run over the clothes pegs that are like disintegrated and on the
Oh,
grass,
classic
and
ones.
I think to myself, things never Googled by people. Clothes peg engineer. Effects on ultraviolet or effects on sun to plastics.
Yes.
Hats off to you.
Yes.
Hats off to you, hats.
Yes.
That's a metal clothes peg. Absolutely.
Metal clothes peg.
It's not going anywhere.
All right. What
What
else?
about rust stains? Are you worried about rust stains on your clothes?
No, they're stainless steel clothes pegs.
What grade?
Oh, Richie.
What grade
Oh,
stains?
What can I tell you?
Actually, that's
What can I tell you?
not gonna.
I'm also drinking a wine out of a juice glass, and I'm a classy man.
Are you sitting on your new chairs?
Yeah, they're good.
They're second-hand chairs.
Am I flexing excess chairs right now? In
Yeah,
the
sorry, just for the
background here?
listeners'
those
benefit.
listeners-
If anybody is still with us, there are I don't know how many chairs are there.
There's two. There's two chairs.
My
Is that only
wife
two?
loves
What's
this
the-
shit? I hate them. Is it like
Yeah, they're crap.
Wicker?
Cane?
Yeah, I
Wicker
hate
chairs.
Ugh.
Actually, my wife's grandmother's chairs.
Oh well, then I feel bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wicker Chair podcast with Daz and Brendo.
Wicker and chairs. Wicker and chairs.
I've got something serious, right? Or fun but serious, right? No, not fun. We should have got Brisket on to talk about this because this is Brisket's idea, right? But so we're coming into a really what?
He
Daz
doesn't like
left.
brisket. He doesn't like brisket.
He doesn't like
He
brisket.
just walked away.
Okay, well I'll tell
I'm
you.
kidding. He's just getting a beer. He's getting a beer. Sorry, brisket. He loves you.
Brisket? No, this is so.
Brisket's my boy, man. Don't you?
You'll
bag
see.
out
You'll probably
Brisket.
see him in your poon, actually.
Yeah,
Have you met him before?
No, we've done a Zoom chat before.
No,
but,
no, he's
not in the flesh. Yeah,
He's a dude.
He's a top dude. Very smart.
He is.
Yeah, good dude.
So-
Good
Sorry,
Bitcoiner.
mate. Carry on.
Sorry, hats.
No. So he has this sort of, what would you call it? A system. I'll call it a system where. So if you're already a Bitcoiner, right? If you don't have any Bitcoin right now, go get some, right? That's just go find if you KYC Bitcoin only exchange, go buy some Bitcoin. If you can work out non KYC or can mine, great, go do that instead. But so for those people, don't do this, right? But anybody who's a Bitcoiner has a bit of Bitcoin behind them and is kind of, I don't know about you guys, but I run pretty close to the. What's the phrase? Sail pretty close to the wind on the fiat side of the equation, right? So I understand I need to have money to like survive in real world, let's call it that for a second. But so I, whatever those, the daily bills or whatever, the weekly, monthly bills. But and I try and I'm the mini Michael Saylor, right? Sweeping it out to sweeping the spare cash out, which is like $2, whatever it is. But yeah, I should put out an announcement. But the
Hats Foundation has stacked another 200 sats.
yeah. You should definitely do that, right? That's a great Twitter account. I'm going to start a new one.
Yeah.
That's really good, right? I would follow that account, just because it was mine. But but Brisket's idea is that if you've already got Bitcoin, you're set, right? If you've got a bit of money and you've taken a bit of time and got a bit of money into Bitcoin, you're set. I mean, and we're all feeling this FOMO because you're like, oh, but it's so cheap, I should get more, and I'm going to be rich faster, and all that kind of stuff. But you should really just have your fiat sitting on a limit order that's 10% under the market, or pick your number. That's I don't know if that's Brisket's number, but it's under the market, because when shit like this happens, or you could be 40% under the market if you wanted to, but when shit like this happens, you get the cheapest damn sats that going, because trust me, your trading abilities are not this good, people, right? All of us are awful, all of us, and anyway, that's me. Everybody, I would guess lots of other people, but that would force you to get cheap sats. But in the meantime, it would also have a cash balance sitting on an exchange. Let's call it, I would probably say Bitteroo would be in Australia would be the best one to do it with. And you'd be sitting under market. And worst case scenario, your gas bill spikes by 40%, your rent bill spikes by 30%, your supermarket shopping spikes by 15%, and all the family bills come through. You've got cash sitting there that's not sitting in a bank, because I would trust a Bitteroo more than I would trust my bank, just to hold my cash. And like it's and you'd have you've got that becomes your safety net. And worst case scenario, you stack super cheaply. Worst case scenario, you're stacking cheaply, right? What do you think of that?
That's
I loved it when I read that.
Man. It's really brilliant. It's I do it myself. I constantly keep some fiat aside in the exchange with some limit orders in, and aggressive ones too, because and you could even leverage.
Sorry, aggressive as in low. Is that what you mean by aggressive?
Aggressively low, for those wick downs. So, and it's a particularly pertinent with exchanges that do leverage trading, right? So, say FTX, for example, they can wick down pretty aggressively when you have a spew in the markets. And
people want to get out quickly.
You can, and the other thing you can is fat fingers, man. Like people will. Particularly day traders, can fat finger a trade getting in and out of trades really quick.
What does that mean? Sorry, fat finger.
Just put a decimal point in the wrong spot, right? For example, or put a 1 where you meant a 7, fat fingering a trade, putting in a sell order, putting in manually with their fingers, and it does happen. Like I haven't personally experienced that myself, but you do hear of people putting in aggressive buy orders, market orders, and taking advantage of when these things liquidate and you get a spike down. It's called a swing fail pattern in a trading pattern, if you have ever studied trading patterns and so forth. It's where you get a candle with a really big wick. So the head of it is at the top and you get a really big tail down, the wick. And where it wicks down is where these sort of events occur, when there's a bit of volatility, people start to trade to spew out, or that... some of the... What's that noise? Can you hear that? It's like a rabbit or something on the other end.
Sounds like a cricket. Mate, your mic is fucked. Just quietly. Don't tell anybody. Listen to it.
Yeah.
It sounds like a crackling fire.
It's pretty crackly.
But no.
Yeah, just don't
perfect.
move.
Don't move.
Don't get excited.
Perfect. Okay, don't smile. No, just crackle. No.
He moved.
So, when the leverage gets washed out, which can be on purpose or by accident, you get these wicks created, and that's where Brisket's what he's saying is put some aggressive buyers. Say we're trading at 30 grand Australian right now, put a little buy order in at 28 or 27 or 20 as low as 25 kind of thing, and you may just get filled with some of this volatility in in when we get a deleveraging event where all these liquidations occur with people who are leveraged long or leveraged.
And it happens, it does. And let's be honest about it, that happens in both directions, right? So
for sure.
you could be sitting with I did it once, I'm ashamed to say, but like I sat on exchange way too high with a sell order just to see. And the exchange was, I'll not tell you the amounts or the exchange, but the exchange is way too thin. And what you get in a sort of FOMO period is that you also get people piling in, like you get people who are rich who pile into an exchange and want to buy a lot of Bitcoin quickly because they get the FOMO too, right? So, and then they just buy and they buy at market price. And if the market's thin, they just buy all the way up.
Yeah.
So they bought all the way up into mine, and like 25 minutes later, I went and bought my Bitcoin back, and walked away with whatever I walked away with. Now that sounds great.
Still some risk there because you're just having fiat sitting there.
I mean, and I would always advise for most people against trading and trying to pick tops and bottoms and all that sort of
thing. Yeah, and also
just to Hat's sort of point was, if you did have fiat for the rainy day fund in your bank account, what is it like? It's largely could be potentially at risk sitting in your bank account due to bank bail-in laws and all these sort of things. And what reward are you getting for that risk that you're taking on? Nothing, because our interest rates are still, well, okay, we could argue that they're getting up a little bit, but they're still, compared to inflation, not there. So why not potentially park in some of these safer exchanges like Bitteroo, Hardblock, just for example. Hardblock, I don't think have market orders, but that's another issue. But that's why I said Bitteroo with that kind of thought process.
So
you would park it then in, say, what's the difference between parking it in one of these big banks? No, I'm not going to open myself up to any names there, but park that rainy day fund in the exchange instead, and put in some aggressive orders, and then you could potentially benefit from some of this volatility.
I guess the thing
and
is,
what I would just say,
you're going to buy.
Sorry, go on, Brendo. Go on, sorry, man.
I was going to say you're going to buy Bitcoin anyway, so if you're going to do it, why not have it sitting in there ready to go?
Yeah, and I would just be slightly clear for anybody that's going, oh wow, that's an idea. When I was doing it, I was not doing it. I was doing it with a low percentage of my total holding. Right, I'm not risking everything on either side, and I don't encourage anybody to trade. But and also, what I would also say on the high side, because I got lucky and then I actually got hit by the big tax bill as a result of that. So, what's happening there?
I'm just sending this to my wife. Oh no, I got to go again. Sorry,
we weren't listening. We weren't.
Yeah. Don't, if you're ever considering doing it, don't do it, and don't do it to the high side because you'll get hit with the tax bill. You might get lucky, but you'll still get hit with the tax bill. But on the bottom, on the low side, it's actually not necessarily a Briscoe's idea is a good idea. The guys are just for a bit of commentary here. The guys are not even looking or listening to what I'm saying. They're too busy taking an influencer selfie in the shed.
It's for my wife. She just said, "How you going? You're still potting." I'm just going to send it to her.
Is she done with the thing that she's doing?
She must be. Yeah,
that's lovely.
And here's the other thing, Daz. Right, whilst Brendo's talking to Mrs. A lot of people get drawn into the thought of yield, right?
Yeah.
The idea of, because that's the system we come from, right? We come from this. Where can you put your money that earns you some interest? Is it a business? Is it a bank account? Is it a bond? Is it a whatever? Right? People go, oh, can I put my money somewhere and I can make more money? Nobody thinks, can I put my money somewhere and the value of that money is going to get more?
Exactly.
Right?
Good point.
So, but I think the fact that particularly people just entering, or and maybe they've got quite a lot of Bitcoin, but they don't quite realize it yet. They are going, oh my God, I'm so late. I have to go looking for yield somewhere to increase because I've got no more money to put in this. So I'll go try and be. Well, they don't realize the risk they're taking on, but I'll go look for yield somewhere to increase my. Let's say I'll go park some Bitcoin somewhere and I make some sats as interest, and they don't understand the counterparty risk that's there. And we've all just seen it in the last sort of 6-8 weeks. But is it fair to say that there are now things that maybe you couldn't call it yield, but like you can literally like play games and win sats. You can actually listen to pods, earn sats. You can go to sites that give you sats back for shopping. Like that to me is yield, right? That's yield.
Absolutely.
Why not pick up your yield in that way and not risk whatever it is you've managed to accumulate right now?
Yeah, 100%. And there's games you can play. Games. There's a few in both app stores that you can play, and you can earn sats for playing, versions of Snake and stuff like that.
I literally was doing that before I came on this call. I was playing Snake.
What a great concept to try and capture audience, particularly Bitcoin audience with Fountain app. Like you can earn sats to stream, and I believe in that circular economy, so I am boosting back what I'm earning. But like that's free sats to me, value for value.
Do you? Sorry, Daz. I just want to ask: do you believe that what they're doing is sustainable? It's wonderful. Is it sustainable?
I don't know. I don't know what that model looks like. I don't know where their funding's coming from. I've been thinking about it actually non-stop since they launched it last week. But I'm like, it's got to be coming from somewhere, whether that's sponsorship or ads or whatnot. So, I'm skeptical from the respect that like how long can they continue that? I'm sure it's probably a short-term sort of
right and get users.
They've probably got a budget where they've done that. I haven't seen any announcements.
They can't just offer that service and then pull it because they will get absolutely flogged for it.
Brendan, what do you think? Every lot? Ah, shit. All right, okay. What do you think that all loss leading businesses are doing? That's what they're doing. And they pull it all the time, like flights, supermarkets, credit cards. They just lost lead to get the customers, pull the customers in, and ditch the deal.
Yeah, but
that's the model.
Yeah, sure. But as far as goodwill goes for them, like if they offer that and people go, yeah, that's great, and then they pull that shit, that's going to be fucked. People will be like, well, why stay with Fountain?
Well, but maybe there's nowhere better to. Like, it is better than. Like it's better than. I'm not knocking Fountain here. I think I hope I hope that they're onto something massive here, because I think they possibly could be. If that is a sustainable model, it's massive. That is massive.
Yeah, I know they've got their own advertising model there where you can boost your own pod, cost you stats. So I don't know. I haven't dug down the weeds on how they're funding that. But
we'll you happy to go there, Hats? We did that. We boosted an app to try it out. $50. We boosted Canute's episode. Are you happy to talk about that?
Sure, why not?
You're too late. No, but honestly, I think the actual flow on for us was actually really good. We got a whole heap of new followers. It boosted the Canute pod really, really well. Yeah.
I think.
Whether it's.
And that's what
I don't know. Is it going to be beneficial long term? I don't know, but
can I say what I think they need to do actually is, and I think I've said this to you before, is allow people can comment or for 10 sats or whatever, you should be able to as a user reply to comments as well. So or like comments for sats. So not only is that a way for them to
that happens now.
Oh, really? Okay, it didn't. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
Well, am I right in saying? You can definitely
they can still derive income, and not only that, but it kind of encourages a more positive space.
And are they shaving some fees from these things? I mean, because I'd be happy with that. To be honest,
Podcaster Index takes whatever a 3% or a portion or whatever 1%.
So Daz, we as the podcasters can go in and determine what percentage goes to who, right? But Fountain take, I think I'm right in saying 4%. Podcast Index take 1. Everything.
Isn't it 3 and 1 to make 4 in total? I think.
Possibly. Oh, okay, possibly.
Yeah.
And then everything else is determined by the podcaster, right? They want to keep it all themselves. They keep it all themselves. They want to give it all to charity. Give it all to charity. They want to share it with the guest. They share it with the guest, right? And then whatever portion of splits that you want to do. And yes, but what I don't know is that when somebody has a comment and you go and like that comment, a like costs you 10 sats. I think that's the default number. But I don't know I assume that all goes. I hope that all goes to Fountain Coin. Oh no, it doesn't. It must go to the user. It must go to the other user.
Well, it should, because that incentivizes.
It must do.
Positive comments, I think. Which is to my point.
It's a cool model though. Like
Yeah.
we're at Looking Glass too, we're very much exploring that value for value sort of model to monetize things. And I think we're so early.
What would you do though? That's what. Are you happy to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So we're just pulling on the thread about, so we ran a donation campaign, and I mean, it's not. I'm just wondering whether I talk about this or not, but we're so grateful for having the likes of Foss and James and all of these guys. They're quite influential in the space, involved in the platform. We are so grateful for everything they do, from advice to the platform to the leverage we get from their audiences. But by the same token, we're very much a self-funded endeavor, and we're taking an altruistic approach to our offerings. And sometimes that's hard to communicate to the space because we are connected to two big influencers. They think are very well funded, so that is hard. So we ran we were trying to raise 21 million sats in 21 days. And I mean, we're very, very grateful to the response that we had with the outpouring of offerings, and we had some pretty big donations. But I mean, we fell short of that, but that's okay. We're exploring all those sort of things. But one of our visions is to keep our content free for the end user. That's one of our uncompromising sort of. If you need access to that content, it will always be free. And that's our unwavering
idea,
commitment.
really.
It's the whole idea. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're still capitalists at heart. Like, we recognize that if we are able to monetize that offering, we're able to provide a better product. So that means more content, more deliverables, and we're just exploring those sort of ways. But one thing that we recognize is that we're early in this value for value model, and I think Bitcoiners are generally generous when they see value, and it's value for value. I don't know if you guys have read Atlas Shrugged, but it's very much about that whole concept of building a community around people who are skilled and offer value for things that they're good at, and they should be duly compensated for those sort of things. So that's really the whole premise around what we try and do. And as Bitcoiners, I think everyone plugs into that. Like, as far as if you offer value, you should expect value. And for me personally, for my gigs, right? This is a really good analogy. So when I do my personal gig, so I play guitar and I sing very badly, but people pay me for it, right? But one thing I'm very, very conscious of is I always give more value than I charge for. So I'm always early. I start playing 15 minutes before my gig's due to start, and I'll normally play at least 10 or 15 minutes after my gig's due to finish. And I take fuck all breaks. Normally, a musical act will have 40 minutes, 20-minute break, 40-minute, 20-minute break. I'll play it for an hour and a half. If I do a 3-hour gig, I'll play an hour and a half. I'll have a 10-minute break just to get a drink, have a wee, and then I'll get back into it, and I'll play before and I'll finish after. And I get regular gigs from that because I think I'm providing that extra value for that service, right? And there's the value for value model. So I'm rewarded for that extra output by consistent gigs by people who appreciate it.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
No, definitely. It's just, I guess the question is I don't mean particularly your gigs, but is the pool of people who will give big enough to sustain you to
Not
do
yet.
what you need to do? That's the, for example, if Looking Glass could become a full-time thing for you, would you want it to be?
Definitely.
You would.
100%. Yep. I would not like nothing more than to dedicate my life to that. Unfortunately, I'm still tethered to that fiat life. I still got responsibilities, children, houses, and all that.
Yeah,
and
sure.
If it ended up there, fantastic. Is that why we're doing it? Absolutely not. So it's one of those things that if we're able to monetize it in a way that doesn't compromise on that vision around making that content free and accessible to those people who need it most, there are other ways that we can look at monetizing that to make that a reality. But at the end of the day, we're lucky in that sense that that's not a driver for us. If that happens, great. If it doesn't, all good. We're still going to continue producing that content and getting it into the hands of the people that need it, because we've still got, that. Or me personally, I can't speak for everyone else involved in the platform, but we I've got a decent job that I can pay my bills, still stack sats, and then contribute my spare time, my free time to that endeavor.
Yeah. So we're not what you're there's not going to be Daz.eth anytime soon. It's funny though, right? Even that question. I know obviously I'm saying it as a joke, but like it's just such an automatic laugh, right? You didn't think in your head, "Oh, am I going to laugh?" Like it's just such a laugh. Like so, how do people who go down that path? How do they even get there? Because how do you get past that immediate, "Oh my god," laugh? The thought. I mean, it's just unbelievable, right?
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild, and I'm sure I think I don't even know if Nic Carter owns that NicCarter.eth, but I imagine he probably does. But I'm like, that was the epic troll. I think like he was that come up after all that shit went down.
He did that on purpose?
I think so. I think it was. I think it was an epic troll. But I'm like, by the same token, like people who aren't switched into that, it sends the wrong message.
It does.
Yeah.
It totally sends like you can laugh and you can whatever, mate. But like it's the wrong message, man. Like,
yeah. Oh, listen. Ultimately, the laugh will not be his. I want to do a tweet of the week whilst I remember it. I just want to see if I can get my phone up. Wasn't this
tweet of the week?
We got 3 minutes.
Interstellar at Interstellar bit. The saying "no one has ever gone broke taking profits" is generally true. However, you could very well go broke taking profit with Bitcoin, as the USD, or all fiat, I guess, hyperinflates into oblivion. Buying Bitcoin is taking profit. Phew. It's right.
Nice.
He's right.
Yep.
Buying Bitcoin is taking profit. If you can get that mindset into your head, buying Bitcoin is taking profit, and then just reduce your time preference, people. Like life will get better.
If you spend a bit of time looking at investments in general, right? You get to a point where, like, people always ask me, when you're selling your Bitcoin, when you cash in some profit, I'm like, to do what? Yeah. What am I going to do with it? Exactly. If I sold Bitcoin, all I would want to do is buy more Bitcoin, because at the end of the day, honestly.
Yeah, I know.
It's when you really like truly understand investments and you do like discounted cash flow analysis on these companies that are out there, even now after what have we spewed 20-30%, almost they're still overvalued, grossly overvalued. That 2020 drawdown in March 2020.
That was got in.
Sorry, I got in even
February.
They can't even be valued. Like until they're valued, you're valuing them, and until that the unit of account being used as Bitcoin or Sats, you can't value them. They've got no money, zero. Exactly.
Preston makes that argument all the time. That when the unit of account is so grossly manipulated, you can't. The interest rates are the input into most of those calculations as a variable, and when that's grossly suppressed near zero, everything goes to the moon.
Yep.
It's inversely correlated.
Yeah.
All right.
You're pointing at me.
No, I'm pointing at the time. We have like 50 seconds left.
All right.
I was going to
we got it,
but we'll go again.
Go one more.
All right.
Okay, well, let's go back to your garage, Daz. So we're sitting in here looking at some S9s. You were showing me the ropes. I'm keen to get some. Tell me about them.
tell you about them. So I currently have 4. 2 are not operational. They've 2 of them have got issues, but the intent was I bought one cheap-ish.
I bought one. Jeez,
I
that's
bought
topical.
I bought one cheap-ish
Oh, right.
as a spare to basically pull it apart for a spare part, so I can make one.
Like peer-to-peer or kaboom racks, or what did you do?
So I have bought one off a Telegram mining group, Australian Telegram mining group. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. That was the one I just purchased off another pleb. I've bought one from Facebook Marketplace. Highly do not recommend doing that. And the other 2 were off kaboom racks, which were pretty solid. So good outcome. So I got S9s. I think I've spoken on the pod before about how I run them. I run them mainly when I'm not home. So I've got solar and a battery backup. So I try and utilize that situation when we're not home. We've got a caravan, so we travel around as much as we can. So when I'm not home, I run the 2 S9s and take advantage of the solar and the battery backup. It's still marginally profitable, but I also don't mind that idea of non-KYC sats. So to me, that holds a premium. You know, and you can put your own figure on that as to what that means to you. But
Yeah.
that's what I do. So they're in the shed. We're hot and humid in Queensland. I've done a little bit of digging around with some various mining operations overseas. Had a few good calls with some very good Bitcoiners who are very free of their information and time, which I'm very grateful for.
As they always are, which is
as they always are.
point,
Yeah, it's a really good point about the Bitcoin community in general are very giving of their time and knowledge and
Those
giving
toxic
back to-
psychopaths.
Toxic
What pricks.
psychopaths. And so humidity-wise, I haven't had any personal issues from humidity, but one thing you do have to be mindful of is the power supplies in general. Don't like too much humidity. When you get a little bit of moisture, obviously with electronics, don't like it too much. By all accounts, the hash boards themselves, the actual miners are okay. But it's the separate power supplies that will tend to have a bit of a spit out on if there's too much humidity in the air.
So if the boards themselves, though, if they're running hot, then aren't they kind of negating the humidity anyway, in a way?
Yeah,
They're so hot.
That's a good point, mate. Yeah, they definitely can dispel some of that. So that's probably one of the main reasons why they're not so effective with the humidity, affected by the humidity. But one of the guys I spoke to was in Florida, which is a very tropical climate like I'm in now. And he's got a fairly big mining operation. He's got 2 mining operations over. I think it was 3.5 megawatt was one of them. So it's a big deal. How they counteract that is actually circulate that air back, recycle that air back through. So the expelled air is typically dry and hot.
Yep.
So they actually recycle that back through to try and control that humidity back into the miners. So you would probably. These things are normally tuned into a certain temperature. If the temperature gets too high, it can be an issue. But he is using that recirculated air to try and reduce that humidity somewhat, which I thought was an interesting thing I hadn't heard of before. So,
how long you had yours, Daz? Like in terms of, or how old are the machines? Is more the question.
I wouldn't actually know, Sats. I've had them. I only got my first ones late last year, so. And I've just been gradually adding to them. And I don't run them all the time. Like I said, typically long weekends or weekends we're away in the van, so I'll run them over. But I don't know how old they would be. S9s are a couple of years old now, so these have a fair bit of vintage on them, eh? Like, and
yeah,
they're
I did
pretty
love
low
your tweet.
maintenance,
I loved your recent tweet that when you went away in the van and you forgot to switch them on or something.
I was fucking devastated. Like I was legit bummed because they would have been running probably not at full spec because they weren't actual hashing. They had nowhere to point to, but they would have still been running. Like
many sats did you leave on the table there?
Don't ask. I'm not. Not enough to.
I know.
Take your life. But enough to make me upset. I was pretty.
It was more than one, so maybe.
Yeah. It was definitely a couple of thousand, like tens of thousands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. I'd have to do the math, but it's.
Not man, don't tell me it's okay.
I mean, it's one of those things. Like I was rushed. So I left. Normally, I would at least log in and check that they're pointing towards Slush Pool, but we were rushed to get away to get up where we were going at a decent time. So I just flicked them on as a last thing, shut the garage door, and went because I normally have no issues. But the week before, I had the kids in here and we were building little toy cars.
Yeah.
Just out of wood. So I had them using the drill press, and I like to try and
nice.
get them involved to do that sort of stuff, get a bit of hands-on stuff. So, and I'd unplugged the network switch over there. So the miners are plugged in a network switch plugged into our Wi-Fi repeater that goes back to my modem, and the network swich was off, so it had nowhere to go, and devastated.
Rookie error.
It was 3 days too of pristine. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. They would have been cheap sats. They would have been definitely good. But thanks for running that raw.
Yeah.
Speaking of miners, so interesting stat. Here we go. Recently I heard on Spaces that the miners' price has been maintained throughout this whole period of downturn of Bitcoin price, right? Bitcoin fundamental price. They have maintained their price parity with Bitcoin through this whole period. So I'm like, is that true? So I went back through and I just...
Sorry, explain that to me. I'm not getting what you said.
So perhaps if I just give you the example, it'll make sense. So the Bitcoin... I went back to January this year, and don't quote me, Australian dollar-wise, let's say Bitcoin was, 65,000 at that point in time. The mining price for a S19 Bitmain miner, brand new, was about $17,000 or $18,000. That equated to 25 million sats. Fast forward to May, I forget what the Bitcoin price was, but funnily enough, it had spewed down. It had gone down a little bit, but funnily enough, new price for an S19 miner was 25 million sats. Fast forward to today, which we've spewed down a little, even bit more, and you go and you look at the mining prices in fiat terms are miners. If you wanted to buy a new gen miner, now is the time. They could possibly go down a bit more, but start stacking them now if that's your goal. They are cheapest that we've seen for years, or for quite some time anyway. And so recently, Bitcoin price is obviously where it is, $30,000 odd, or 29 or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, funnily enough, Bitcoin S19 new, 25 million sats. So it's just a good illustration of one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, right? And that hardware is staying tethered to the price of Bitcoin, no matter what the underlying fiat. It's just a denomination that we now price Bitcoin in. Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and it's just I just find it really ironic that maybe ironic's the word, not the right term, but I just find it pretty amusing that it's Bitcoin miner, the thing that actually produces potential Bitcoin, is the thing that is tethered to the Bitcoin price. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin.
Here's a question. What is the general lifespan of an S9 or an S19? Do we know?
Look, I've heard 4 years as a typical lifespan for a miner.
So when you're buying a second-hand miner, you don't know how old it is?
Well, there's really no way to tell. Kaboom racks are a pretty... as far as buying second-hand miners, I think they're a very good, reputable source.
That's interesting. That's like a full cycle.
Yeah, that's
How about
funny.
that?
I hadn't actually thought about that. But they're more than 4 years old.
Really?
For sure. Yeah.
So we did how you treat them as well, right? Conditions
Exactly.
they're in, how often they're run. Yeah.
I showed Brendo today how to pull the fan off, pull the hash boards out. If you keep them clean, one of the worst things is heat, right?
Yeah.
And they're hot.
Yep.
They will operate at, I think the cutoff setting is maybe, I don't know, don't quote me, 90 degrees, I think, for the chips. And there's heat sinks on either side of that board to try and dispel, and that's why they're so noisy. They're trying
of heat sinks. That was amazing to me.
Yeah, so each of those heat sinks, there's one on each side for each chip.
Yeah.
And so you've got to keep them clean. You've got to keep that air flowing across them, and they get caked in because there's so much air
What do
rushing
you
through
use
them.
to clean them? The little air.
Airbrush
thing,
is fine,
yeah.
like a little thing. You can use rubbing alcohol.
Yep.
Just a soft sort of bristle brush. Get in there, just give them a scrub,
Yep.
and I mean you only have to do that if you're doing that once every sort of 3 to 6 months. You're laughing like they don't get. It depends on the environment you're running them in, but like in this shed here, there's not a lot of particles in the air. There's not a lot of dust around, so it's fine to run them. I bet you keep them clean and you hash more. You know.
Good stuff. All right, Hats, you got anything else, mate? Or are we going to cut this short? No, not short. There's a long one.
Cut it long.
Cut it long. No, I'm done. I think for once, I don't have anything particular.
Well,
Enjoy.
Hats, I just want to thank you for coming on.
Enjoy yourselves up there.
Brendo and Daz show.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing your Bitcoin story. Anyway, where can the plebs find you, mate? You want to hand off to what you're doing? Any final words?
I'll be in the dungeon drinking my wine. See you there, guys.
Oh, see ya. We go now. Right.
If they want to find me, they'll find me.
Oh, actually, like before we go, can I just say, Daz, like we've had lots of guests, right? And so many of them have been awesome, but we got off the phone or the thing to you, and we were like, "Fuck yeah, we can have a beer with this guy." Didn't we? He's a good dude.
you and me about Daz. I thought you meant you were talking you and Daz about me.
No,
He's
fuck
alright
you.
too.
I don't want to be with you.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. These for the benefit of anybody that's still with us. There's been a 3-way DM in Twitter for the last few days that I've been copied into, and it's like a party that I'm not invited to. It's wedding. It's a wedding that you were never invited to. You only got the evening invite, and even the evening invite wasn't that good. But anyway, I'm jealous. Have a good time, boys, and
we've set a precedent
just keep
now. So
Daz, if you want to keep him, keep him.
Brendo on the road. So now we just got to tee up the Hats visit to Cairns, and we can do one here too.
Yep. He can't do it. He doesn't know how to operate it.
I'll sort you,
It's
mate.
the one
I
skill
can't
you
do it.
have.
I got audio skills.
Yeah,
We'll
he
be
does.
fine.
Damn
Yeah,
it.
the horrible scraping noises that my mic down the side of my fist for the last
redundant.
hour and a half.
All right, mate. Fuck you. See ya.
All right, boys.
Love you, boy.
Have a
Love
good
you.
night.
Love you. So comfortable.
Brendo and Daz, a much better duo than Brendo and Hats. Brendo and Daz, fuck you stacking hats. And also Bodo.